This is Due by Friday, a weekly challenge podcast with Alex Cox and Merlin Mann. This week's challenge: cover yourself with glory.
Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas. Happy Christmas.
Oh, you don't know this. It's going to be a very, very special episode.
Cool. I don't know that. I would have no way of knowing that.
You absolutely no idea. None. This is the first year I didn't get a flu shot in like a decade. That was a mistake.
Why's that?
A big mistake. Because Friday night I was watching.
I don't think you're actually sick.
I'm okay. You know how
what do they call it? Psychosomatic.
Psychosomatic.
I don't think we say that anymore. We say crazy.
We say Munchausen by malingering. That's a word I learned this year.
Love the word malingering.
Yes.
I love that word. That's where you're kind of like dragging ass and acting like you're sicker than you are.
Yes. And Friday night, I was watching my now I think favorite movie of the year, Wake Up Dead Man by Rian Johnson. And
really?
And now, I have a special. You know how you have things you don't talk about with people, or you can't talk about with people because they don't care. I have that with mystery stories and Agatha Christie and like the golden age of detective fiction and Daniel Hammett. And so God, the way you perceive
Maybe there's
me,
a reason you're having this problem.
I was gonna say the way that you perceive me as like just being unhinged sometimes, and many times I am unhinged. That is how I absolutely feel today, and I'm like, yep, this is everything Merlin thinks about me. Absolutely true.
Tell me how I can
100%.
Tell me how I can help or hinder, or tell me how to what are you in the mood for today? I'm up for anything.
Anything. I am up for anything.
Oh,
I am
shit,
in the
that's
holiday
dangerous.
spirit.
Oh, me too. I'm in the holiday spirit too.
Yeah. And
I single-handedly decorated our tree.
With literally one hand, or is that?
And also the rainy season started, which I love.
Really? Is that bit, or do you like the rainy season there? Because I like the cold season, and this is what has been a bummer the past week, because I get the opposite. This is real. The opposite of most people's seasonal depression. I love it when it's cold. I love it when it snows. And some people I know love it when it rains. Are you a rainy person?
I was just happy that it's rainy season started.
Oh, that's it. It's not a diagnosable situation.
No, I'm open for anything. I just want to be supportive as you go into this fake fugue state you're going through.
A fake.
Oh, guys, I'm so crazy. Ooh. I'm sorry you're sick, dude. I like your voice though. You sound like a young person. You sound a little bit like you could be like a voice, an animated voice. A voice of an animated character.
On what show? Yes, but what show do you think? Because
we could work toward that, but we have to work with what we have at a given time. So, you don't want me to be good this week. You want me to be supportive, right?
No, I want you to be good. I want you to tear me apart. I am here for the ride.
No, you're not.
That's the thing.
It's don't know. Season of Lights, Alex. I can't take you apart.
It is, and I haven't even seen the season of Lights.
Is this like how I want? Is this how I want like Sarah Paulson to hit me with a convertible? Okay. Run over me.
Oh, Merlin, you just said a very important thing.
Okay.
Convertible.
Convertible. But which show?
Which show?
See, I'm doing your bit where I bring up an irrelevant piece of specificity.
No. I know you're going to say this is not the important part of the story.
I didn't like Ratched, but her in that outfit.
She was hot in it. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, like she's hot, and I mean, when I say I can't have her, you know what I mean by that. Like we play for different teams, and also I don't know her, and I have no libido, so I'm a triple non-threat title.
I mean that. Oh, wait.
This thing? Oh, don't worry.
To write things down.
You got nothing to worry about. This thing? No, don't worry. No, it's not even going to move. Don't worry. I'll just lay here while you keep running over me.
Lavender.
Lavender.
Oh God. Lavender marriages. I fully support.
Lavender marriages.
Marriage. Lavender
Is that
marriages.
when gay people are married?
Yes. But lavender marriages, unlike having a bear, at least now it's sort of been reclaimed of like, yes, a lavender marriage, we are doing this, but intentionally,
a pet bear.
A bear is, it's a bad name because a bear can
Talking about
be,
the dudes?
Yeah.
Okay.
No. So those are a bear. Oh God, Merlin, you're right. I meant beard. Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah. Well, I think the other term is American.
America, yes.
Which I don't really get that. Well, I don't really get beard either, but I haven't looked them up. Oh, I'll look them up in our new thread we have here. And by the way, I already wrote this down. Well, I already wrote it down for the after show. This so what happened is if this has existed before, I've never used it, but I just recently noticed that the LLM that I use says that you can have a thread with somebody. So the other night I started a thread with Syracusa, and I just started one with you just for this episode. And I hope it won't become the main focus of the episode because that's boring to talk about. But this pretty amply, do you have access to it? Were you able to get in?
Yes.
Well, if you scroll down, you can see. Is why
I was late. One of the many,
one of the many reasons.
One of the many reasons. But let me, oh no, it locked me out. But you, what do you call it? Wheezed my juice because we never got to the book.
Do you know that term?
No, I just know that you say it, and I think I'm using it in the correct context. I think it means
wheezing the juice. I'll write it down for later.
Wheezing the juice. Their notebook LM by Google is very interesting and really good. And you've been like, why do you put the episodes on Google? And I don't really put our episodes on Google. They YouTube? Automatically go. Thank you, Jesus. They go up automatically. It's
so nice though. I see them whether I want to or not, and I see it's a show that's been up for 4 or 5 days has had 3 views.
But it should be unlisted, so I don't know why you're even seeing it. So I guess it's not unlisted. Occasionally,
I don't mind. I don't want to deprive those 3 super fans of it, but I think probably people just accidentally click on it because it's got a funny picture.
Yeah,
ooh,
every once
Mr.
in a
Blobby
while.
in it.
Every once in a while.
It's Mr. Blobby.
Yeah.
Hello. What's all this thing?
John Wayne Gacy gets up there. God, the power of the thumbnail. One time John Wayne Gacy got a couple thousand views, and they're like, what is this? I like this. And
sickos,
I'm like, people are nice. Yeah, I love when we get sickos.
Lavender marriage, pet bears.
Well, we didn't even get to the convertible of...
I wrote it down. It's rendering a photo of that for us right now, just so you know.
Oh, good.
I want to start with just Sarah Paul. Whoa, that's a pretty good start. A little modern. She looks kind of like Kristen Wiig. Sorry, we can't talk about this during the show. It's boring.
No. Except that it's very important that if someone's going to hit you with a convertible, the convertible be in its converted state because roll in.
Have you ever heard of a phrase people use from time to time that you ought and let perfect be the enemy of good? Or the way that I put it, don't let perfect be the enemy of existent?
I have no, not that second part.
Well, one definition of perfectionism, and there's a couple that I think are interesting, but there's the one definition of perfectionism that I think it doesn't feature heavily in the people I know who are perfectionists, but the common version of what I grew up with is, he's such a perfectionist, which means that this person will keep working on this thing until it's perfect and take as long as it takes, and they have to have and it kind of implies a certain kind of like what most people think of as OCD, right? And I don't think that's as useful as the definition of perfectionism that's helped me a lot with people in my life, which is that what if instead I just won't even start it unless I know it will be perfect? And just to be super clear about that, I can't start this because I don't know if it can be perfect. And so if I don't know if it can be perfect, I don't know if it will be perfect. And if it can't be perfect, I shouldn't even start it. That's closer in reality to people I know with perfectionism, just for what it's worth.
Oh my God, that's really fucking good. Ooh, I don't like
in which
that.
case, guess what? That kind of
No.
applies to me. And maybe instead of perfect, I would use a different word. But there's lots of things where I'm hesitant to even get started. I'm part of it's project manager mind, where I was just talking to somebody the other day about this. Like, you kind of can't help but have your mind, I use this word deliberately, unfold, almost like you're clicking a disclose arrow on an outline. The project manager mind, if you don't keep it in check, unfolds into like all the things that could happen because you're trying to mitigate risk and balance resources and all that kind of stuff. So like, you've already mentally kind of, as a project manager, you failed before anything's ever happened. And that's kind of why they give you the big bucks. The smart ones anyway.
I mean, I'll get ahead of ourselves into our challenge a little bit.
I'll do whatever you want. I'm just happy you're here. She looks better as a nurse, by the way.
Yes, she does. I'd love to roll in her convertible. Earlier this year, I had a conversation with one of my friends. It's been a tough year, and he's
Biz tough year?
Tough year.
You've had a tough year.
Tough year.
Okay.
And he's like, hey, you're still the best project manager I've ever had. And I'm like, oh my God, thank you so much.
Wow. Does that make you, seriously, that must make you feel good.
It made me feel, it made me feel so special. And what made me feel even more, I don't know, affirmed or, valid is that it did not it shocked me to hear that, because it doesn't, the phrase I like, shocked but not surprised.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, yeah, that makes absolute, I know, because I know a lot of your project managers, but then like a half hour later, or an hour later after we had been drinking, he's like, it is still true, 100%. You have been far and away the best project manager I've ever had.
That's so nice. Is this something you worked on in this year, in that bad year?
No, well,
a long time ago. No. I'm just saying that it was based on recently or in the past. It's even nicer in some ways. Yeah, in some ways that's even nicer. Is going like, I've had enough experience and context now to realize how helpful you were to me in ways I couldn't appreciate till I didn't have it.
And I can gossip. We know the people his work. Anyway, and then he said, but Alex, I wish that you cared 1/6 about yourself and you managed your health. Just if you were a project manager for yourself and cared 1/6 about any of the bullshit, the worst dumb shit we did, you know how happy that would make me. I'm like, Tom, shut up, Tom, shh.
I fucking hate Tom. Tom was a bad client.
Tom,
I never liked him.
Tom, fuck you. I'm like, fuck you, Tom. Go back to the neck. No.
Go back to McCoy.
And the go back. To
this is going to be the podcast with all the slurs in it. All the vulnerable.
I'm vulnerable.
It's been ruined.
But that's a thing of. I think that's part of. I don't think you've ever called it a vulnerability project, but my sort of. I think a lot of your wisdom project, hand in hand, is with vulnerability, because you always say, it's
because you have to. Every one of those is admitting I fucked up.
Yeah, and everything you don't do for yourself, it's like, oh man, I'm the bad project manager if I fuck this up, and then it's not just I fucked up the project, I fucked up myself, and man. I like perfect is the enemy of not, what was it?
I'd have to look it up. And I'm sorry, I've gotten a little distracted. Did you see the newer Nurse Ratched? Did you see the new one in the 40s movie style?
The 40, is there another season?
I think we're getting better now. Let's see. Oh God, I promised myself I wasn't going to do this because I hate when people type on podcasts. I don't look at the internet when I do podcasts. Did you know that about me?
I've heard it said that people come into our lives for a reason, but I don't.
It's not really an answer.
I wonder if I hope that one day, if Billy ever listens to a podcast, someday he'll pick up little references. I mean, I respect it.
You sound like Mickey Rourke in Barfly. Drinks for all my friends. Sounds like a human cigarette. I love that band.
I have called off podcasts before when I've had a sinus infection because that is not my fault. Sinus infections, that is a curse upon my house, my giant nose. However, didn't get a flu shot this year. This is my own fault. So I am here and I am here for whatever Merlin will tolerate.
No, you're my Wednesday. They're saying, to paraphrase of Voltaire, the dingus says that, and I don't trust this thread. This thread's garbage. The idea comes from, I'm sorry, I don't speak French. I don't play flute. La Bigelle, 1772, where Voltaire writes in French, a line commonly rendered in English as, he says, the perfect is the enemy of the good.
And no, but what did you say? It was better.
I said, mine really relies on knowing something that I didn't realize was Voltaire, which is don't let the perfect be the enemy of the existent. Mm-hmm. Which is which I realize sounds really hoity-toity, but I think that's a good way to put it, and I'll tell you why. Because there's another great quote attributed, I think, to Woody Allen. Like so many great quotes, I think he's the one who said something like 80% of life is showing up. Mm-hmm. And there's so many things in life where not all you need to do, the main thing you need to do above all else is show up. And I think that's true for a lot of stuff. I mean, it's true for stuff that, oh God, that I just hate even thinking about, like funerals or, a big events in somebody's life. But also showing up in some ways is also about being there and getting on the floor and playing Legos or playing whatever the little person wants to do, like showing up. And I don't mean, but really it goes, you can even be even more cynical in a way that I think makes it useful. You could to be cynical and useful, you can say, well, God, I used to say this to my kid and it wasn't really helping, so I stopped. But the way I would look at it in retrospect is, when you get an assignment or you get a big thing you got to do, and it's probably something let's say it's something you're dreading, and it seems like, you haven't learned how to take it bird by bird yet. You just see it as this big wad of undone, right? And it's so, you don't even know, there's no handles, there's no crevices, there's no cracks. All you see is imminent failure in a big tangled knot, like yarn and, gum or something. And I was like, it really does help. Like something I learned in college to my peril is there's nobody there who's going to help you really. That there's nobody you don't have a mom and you don't have a den mother. You don't have an ombudsman. There's nobody in your first semester of college who's there to go to each of your teachers and say, listen, no disrespect, but each one of you gave too much reading this week. And there's really, if I tell you there's 2,000 pages of reading this week, plus other things that need to happen, plus he has the flu, there's no way he could read nobody's going to go to each of your teachers, your professors, and say that. I'm not trying to be, mean or stop eating avocados. But that became true then in real life too. That's true for bills. That's true for deadlines at work. And in a modern contemporary knowledge worker environment, something a lot of people I adore face every day. The people who are in a position to make homework for you are not collaborating about how things are going for you. So one of the very step zero in some ways is to accept that there are things you will not be able to do. One way I put it, I got to get a better analogy. If you got 20 pounds of work in a 5-pound bag, you're SOL. Time will not bend, despite being able to fold a piece of paper and put a pen through it, like in that movie with Murph. But you can't do that. You've got to you're going to have to do less or fewer of the things. So what do? Let's say if you have four 12-hour tasks and one day, what do? Do you do part of each task? Do you do a bunch more of 2 tasks? Or do you just do one task and just basically say to yourself, I'm just not even going to do anything for the others? And there's no answer to that because, I'm sorry. This is a theme. This comes up. We're watching this wonderful Northern Ireland police show called Blue Lights. And it's kind of like a very successful Northern Irish version of The Wire to some extent, where it's about a system, in this case, the police in this Northern Ireland town. And anyways, there's these characters who are there's one guy I was saying to Syracuse, like this guy makes bad choices about impossible things badly. Because but it takes that thing that I'm talking about here, which is you're going to be, as a person, I could say as an adult, but as a person, you are going to be almost endlessly confronted with things you can't do. And not just things you think you can't do, but you're going to endlessly be confronted from time to time with stuff where it just cannot be done in the way that everyone asks you for it. So what do? Do you renegotiate? Do you cancel? Do you resource level? Do you throw some of that stuff out? Which gets us, that's step 0, realizing that. Step 1 then becomes, okay, is there any of this that's just about showing up? The phrase that my professor, my sponsor which has a different term, different meaning now, my sponsor at New College just broke my heart when we were talking about whether I could get into thus and such grad school. Like the guy I wrote my thesis about was going to help me try and get into this East Coast university for grad school. And he says, yeah, but like really what it comes down to is you finished college. That's, he said, you've shown you can put up with some bullshit and get a project done. But the way you need to look at it going into the world is that you got your ticket punched. I was like, I got my ticket punched? Like, do you realize how much I've done here? He says, yeah, but you got your ticket punched. You can honestly put, I graduated from college on your CV, right? And it's like, wow. The thing is, though, at least when I was going out for jobs, yeah, sure. Like, I guess if you went to Harvard and you actually went to Harvard, I guess that helped. I went to a pretty good school and it didn't make much of a difference. What mattered is I got my ticket punched. I showed up. And that's not a brag, but it's just a way to say, in fact, it's the opposite of a brag. It bummed me out that all the effort and heart and like all the sacrifice that me and the people around me had made for me to get through that, the sum total of what it meant was I got my ticket punched. Which is not, I took a lot more than that away from it, but it was I'm glad he said that. And I'm still thinking about it 40 years later, right? So,
I think I was lucky enough that I learned that just like a year earlier than you maybe, because when I was at Marquette, not fancy school, but like Midwest Catholic Jesuit, fancy. Yeah. And I going to their J school, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, this is just so you're like, oh, good, you did the thing. And this was at the beginning of the listicle phase, and they were very open about, listen, you just need to find a mentor, you need to figure out how to write a good list, and you need to learn enough about computers to get good at SEO. And I was like,
were there
fuck this, I know this.
Someone said that to you?
Oh yeah, this was like
a professor said that, like a teaching person said that.
Yeah.
Wow. That is like a tough reality check.
Well then, but also it was very much like, and you need to he literally said, pretend to be objective, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to pretend. And then Columbia, which is the fake, not. It's the joke is Columbia College Chicago. Like at the time,
it's Columbia
there was
with 2 E's. Columbia.
Yeah.
It actually anybody who can read went to the other school.
It's called CCC, Columbia College Chicago. So
yes, in Espanol, it's yes.
And it was like a joke at my high school because most people, it was like if you couldn't get into DePaul, the school here in Chicago, the like bigger Catholic school in Chicago, you just go to Columbia. And at Columbia, though, Columbia College Chicago, by that time I was like, okay, I love telling nonfiction stories, and I need people. The people I know and like are in Chicago, and I can glom onto them there, and they are
that's
this
thinking that's ahead of its
joke.
time, Alex. That's really smart. No, but that's a smart way to look at it.
Well,
that's a smart grown-up way to look at it.
It was. And at the time I also felt, or not at the time, a little bit afterwards, I did feel a little bit gross. I'm like, ooh, that was really opportunistic. But then as like a few years went by, I'm still, friends with these folks who are like really fantastic, decent people and not, doing some journalistic stuff that I don't necessarily enjoy, but it was still like about the nobody asked me about who or where I went to college, but what I have done and like who I have worked with, which is indeed gross. But
well, but also isn't it fair to say that really varies by industry?
It does.
Like
actually,
if you're a shop,
I don't know.
If you're a shop steward in manufacturing.
Yeah.
And you've worked in a bottle cap factory, what do they call that? Bottling facility. Like you've probably, I'm not trying to diminish that work, but like, even if you've worked for 20 years, probably things have changed with how bottling is done. But what you've ended up demonstrating is that you can have a job in bottling for 20 years and not end up dead or in jail. And that in some cases that you know enough about that process to have expertise, that would be useful. But, in other cases, it really helps a lot to say I was a PA for Steven Spielberg, probably.
The thing that I keep thinking the bottling factory.
Yeah, like in the Incredible Hulk movie.
The Hulk movie?
Yeah, what? Remember when Edward Norton is working in Brazil at the bottle factory?
No, I
he has
don't
to fight
remember.
William Hurt.
No.
Mm-hmm.
I want to make a joke. You should see my. If you haven't seen Wake Up Dead Man, don't look at my Letterboxd review. But if you have,
I saw
it. Did you realize that?
Realize what?
Oh, you saw Wake Up Dead Man, but not my review for Wake Up Dead Man.
Oh, sorry, no,
okay.
I didn't see your review of Wake Up Dead Man.
Okay. There's
it's a busy time
a theme. It is. But there's a
that
theme.
accent really wanders a bit, doesn't it?
Father Judd's.
Love Father Judd.
Love Father Judd.
Yes. All right.
I slept through his I was gonna go watch.
It was not a great episode. They didn't make great use of him. So you were saying about DePaul and college and knowing you wanted to work with people and you don't like it sounds like a brag to put stuff down.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm covering myself with glory. No. The idea of getting your ticket punched, maybe it is a millennial thing and maybe it was a college prep thing of like, okay, now that it's like it was also almost like, oh, you were able to get into this place. It doesn't even matter that
exactly that unfurls this entire world of assumptions about it. Yeah. Well, I can close this out and we can get to the challenge. I don't want to wear you out, but when I say don't let perfect be the enemy of the good, the perfect be the enemy of the good, or in my case, don't let the perfect be the enemy of the existent. All these cliches that have been piling up along the way, things like getting your ticket punched. There's a ninja skill in developing the ability. There's this. I love this adverb, and I don't want to overuse it or this adjective. It's a term in English translations of Buddhism. You'll hear the word skillful. I really like that word. It's a little ineffable to me, but like, am I approaching this? You could say, work harder, work smarter, not harder, and like put your back into it and diddly-dee, like, and then sometimes I think a really useful way to look at it is to ponder whatever it is that I think I want to do here. Notice I'm saying what I think I want to do here. Whatever it is I think I want to do here, how do I approach this in a skillful way? And I think that's ultimately what I'm trying to get at with don't let that be the enemy of the existent, which is like, dude, if you don't need to do this, why are you having any stress about it? Well, I got to do it. Okay. But if you got to do it and you know you're not going to do it, why are you stressing about it? Well, because that's going to cause consequences for me. Okay, well, then you've got to do it. Well, I can't do it. I won't, there's not enough time. Okay, well, you now find yourself in the position of about, I'd say 4 to 5 billion people. Like, you're going to have to just figure that out. But there are skillful ways to do it. Now, let's take all that mean dad advice and bring it down to something useful and hopefully more skillful, positive, kind, productive, which is like, take all that combination of don't let that be the enemy, get your ticket punched, just showing up is 80%, blah, 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 blah. There's something in those little cliches that can help you be more skillful, which is like, maybe in addition to skillful, how can I be most useful or how can I be most instrumental for what I need to be doing here? And sometimes what you need to be doing here is turning in your paper by 4 p.m. But a lot of times it's a little more amorphous than that. And again, you think of things like occasions where somebody's died or somebody's very ill, or just those times when we feel really unmoored from like knowing like what's going on and like, and I think that's, if you look at some of the like third acts of a lot of sometimes very soppy, melodramatic, nostalgic things, you end up at this thing where like dad realizes that the best thing he can do right now is get on the floor and play whatever that kid wants to play. But that's not always true. Sometimes you also have to go to work, and you have to be skillful about learning when you have to accept what some people would consider failure and what almost everybody would consider not perfection. But what is this most skillful way that I can apply myself to this in a way that, you know, shows that I understood the brief and did what was needed of me? And this also gets us then into other negative phrases like phoning it in. I'm not saying phone it in, but like I'm keeping this deliberately amorphous. I can get as specific as you want, but I'm deliberately keeping this amorphous. I have very specific examples of all these things, but I'm carrying on. So just to say, like, I think a good strategy for getting through whatever remains of your life, amongst the 8 or 9 really good skills to have in your toolbox, one of them is having that situational awareness to realize what is the remit, what is expected of me, and like, how do I apply that here? And in your case, like if you've got, when we've delayed doing the show because you have a sinus infection, like, do I seem mad about that? Jesus, no. I don't think, not only would you probably not do a very good show, it would, you know, why would I ask you to do that when you're not feeling well? You know what I mean? And it's like, that sounds so dumb and easy, but it takes some of us dozens of years to get to where, no, I'm not mad at the other person because they can't record today. Instead, I'm going to try to be skillful about that. And in a very getting things done way, to be honest, one skillful way is to go like, well, 4 hours just opened up. How do I feel about that? And is there anything that I would want to do differently? And how can I apply my skills to that 4 hours I didn't have before? Right? So I don't know, just that, like taking your own pulse, like all along the way, reading the room, all that kind of stuff, I think can make you a more skillful person. I got us way off Nurse Ratched.
Oh, the bell doesn't work. Oh.
You okay? How you doing? You hanging in there?
That was really good, Barlett.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I should get a podcast.
You should.
Challenge this week is to cover yourself with glory.
I think I peanut buttered. I was having trouble understanding the challenge.
We've been recording for 35 minutes. Is there anything that we, and by we I mean literally me, is there anything I've said in the last 35 minutes that could be applicable here?
For covering yourself in, yeah, that was an interesting noise.
I want to do a harmony, but I'm going to have to do a lower harmony because I can't go that high. Try it again. No, you do yours. That's hard. I've never had you know what? I've never had a single singing lesson. Can you believe that? Not a single one. But she believes in me. I did too, but for probably, I don't know if it's for complimentary reasons, but I have a ton to say about this, but
do you know what my favorite Merlin Mann quote of all time is?
Oh, geez. Let's see. Shut your whore mouth.
It's close. It's empty your inbox all the time, every day, for hours. No. We procrastinate when we've forgotten who we are.
We procrastinate when we've briefly forgotten who we are.
It's the thumbnail
I found it for that video, yeah.
Yeah.
Like the one that Neil Dash got all mad about. The friend of the show. Yeah, he has remarks about a lot of things. He
really likes to talk.
He's a nice guy, but kind of hard to deal with.
He was nice to me.
No, he's a very nice guy.
To me once.
Yes. He probably respects you. But Make Believe Butchers.
Impressed I was a girl at the time.
Was something Make Believe Expertise in the Old Butcher or something like that. And but the idea that
Make Believe help old butchers in figuring out who you are, parentheses, for now, which I think is really important, those parentheses. Good
Thanks for saying
job,
that.
really bad.
Thanks. I appreciate you saying that. And I do think it's true. Because procrastination, the whole time I was sitting there talking about perfectionism, I think it's so related to procrastination. And like real procrastination, not what people who don't have procrastination fantasize is procrastination. For the people who have it, I mean, there's things that are all too familiar about procrastination that the people who don't have it are, I've come to believe, are practically incapable of understanding.
Can you distinguish the two? What you think
sure.
is, yeah.
Well, the perfectionism, like I say, my version of perfectionism coming up was this person will work on something until they think it's perfect. My more nuanced thing about that affects people I know is that some people are reluctant to they dread even getting started on something unless they know it will be perfect. Not only that it can be perfect, which is a different problem, you know, that's an earlier problem, but that it will be perfect. And then with procrastination, I think a thing I used to say, and this might be bullshit, but like people talk about feeling so distracted by the modern world, you know. And I think there's a huge difference between a distraction and an interruption, but that's for a different day. But like, you know, the interruptions and distractions, like things are always coming at you. There's all this stuff you got to do. And the thing I would always say is like when's the last time you got distracted while you were furiously masturbating? Because there are certain things in life where people tend to have pretty good focus about things compared to other kinds of things. And so even if we take out the bit and the obscenity, you say to yourself, well, how is it that you can get so lost and involved in a certain kind of thing, develop what Csikszentmihalyi calls a flow state? Like you can get very involved in these certain kinds of things, and then other kinds of things, you seem to fall off them really quickly. Well, there's a ton of reasons. And so one thing is we procrastinate. And procrastination, I think, in the classic definition is having a guilty feeling, being angry at yourself that you haven't made more progress on something you feel like have committed to doing or are committed to doing. Mm-hmm. And I'm being the word guy here, like for a reason, because I think words matter. And one way words matter is that when we just repeat what we think something is about without really unpacking the words that we use to constantly tell each other what it means, all of those things are true. I just said like 3 different things that explain procrastination to me. Well, is it something you super want to do? Oh, Jesus Christ, no. Is it something you said you'd do? Yeah, it is. Is it something you have to do? Yeah, that's the problem. And it's like, well, I guess you're fucked and you have to do nothing else until that thing is done. And then, of course, the person says, well, I got a mortgage and all that kind of stuff. And you're like, well, okay, but like, let's unpack what that is. What was the problem with that? What is it that makes this thing so untenable for you? Is it perfectionism? Is it procrastination? And I think the procrastination and honestly, this comes from a book by a hypnotist named Neil Fiore called The Now Habit. But something I got from that book that just blew my mind open was this idea that really procrastination is about a feeling of safety or peril. And the people who are prone to procrastination, and this is an explanation that I'm...
Now Habit? Sorry.
Yeah, wow, The Now Habit by Dr. Neil Fiore, Fiore, which is a really important book for me. The way he gives a good example of this, like think about a balance beam, which if memory serves is 4 inches wide. So like a gymnast balance beam. So if there's like a balance beam that is on the floor, but it's not going to tip over, like it's sturdily mounted to the floor such that you are now on a 4-inch beam, approximately 4 inches above a carpeted room. And somebody says, walk 10 feet across this beam. You'd probably be able to work it out. I mean, unless you have some kind of a beam problem. But you put those 2 beams, you put that beam between 2 tall buildings over Manhattan. And like, that's going to be a lot harder to walk across. It's the same beam, but the context is different. And the conditions and setting are different. Same beam, different meanings. So the problem is the disconnect in the mind of a procrastinator is that beam that's on the ground at your house, surrounded by friends, like that beam is the same beam as between your notional buildings, but you can feel a sense of danger, peril, and revulsion even about walking across that beam on the carpet, which doesn't seem to make sense. But anybody would be scared to walk between two buildings. And so we avoid that because of the safety problem. Like, you don't want to fall off and die. Procrastinators tend to feel very menaced by the things that could go wrong. Again, admittedly, it's a lot like perfectionism, but it's just we put things off because sometimes it's because we don't know where to start. Sometimes it's because we don't know how it'll end. But a lot of times it's just, and it's partly because we have 7 balance beams this week that we've got to deal with. And there's just no way I could even, this balance beam in New Zealand, I can't even get to. Like, I don't even, I can't even, right? So like with this, the more work you have, sometimes the less work you do, or the less work you accomplish, the less you produce, the less you aser. So that became very useful to me in thinking about procrastination. It has not cured me of procrastination, but like all things, even if it's something that I can't be perfect at, I do cover myself with glory in the moments where I could make it less perilous and laugh at myself a little bit. And that is very helpful to me. But it remains frustrating to me that people because it's very shameful to have procrastination, to be a procrastinator. And I have found it very difficult. There's a big gulf between people who got it and people who don't. Let's just put it that way. And people who don't think it's absolutely ridiculous and in my experience, a complete failure of character and will. Why are fat people so fat? Why are you not doing your work? Why do you live in a ghetto if you don't like living there? These are very similar sorts of questions to me. I mean, now talk about covering yourself with glory, but that's the thing. You don't make a procrastinator. Most procrastinators, well, it depends. It depends on the type of procrastinator. If you're a procrastinator who has ADHD, it may need to get to the point where somebody's threatened you with being fired, or said basically, if this is done by Monday, great. If it's not done by Monday, don't bother coming in. Right? Those kinds of things. That can make a difference because guess what? Unfortunately, if you have poor dopamine management and don't get to control that might cause a surge of dopamine that makes you clear your desk and get it done. But can I just say that's no way to go through all of your life, is like doing it at the last minute and being the hero. But like we do that for different reasons. But I do think when I say procrastination is what happens when we briefly forget who we are, that means lots of things. It forgets what we actually want. It forgets what we're capable of. It forgets what we're skillful at. Like all this different stuff. It makes us feel like children that have been assigned an arithmetic problem that we never learned how to solve.
Oh, that part's good. Do you have a concrete aser? Like what was something that you were putting off? Or I know it's hard, like people do expect, I think, more concrete examples of procrastination of like, I did not start this book and then I finished this book. And I'm not asking that and trying to be like, I think I'm trying to ask you and lead you to talk about the Wisdom Project because you've talked about how writing it in a certain style in a way that really flows. It was very
friction free compared to previous things I've tried to write.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
How did what was that? Just like an assairing?
Well, aser is a really important word to me because it's a Spanish verb.
Please explain the Spanish word aser. I don't think everyone knows that.
Okay, sorry. In college, I had this idea that I wanted to create. I might have actually done it, but I don't remember. But like I would make little publications and put it out back in the day. And I always wanted to make something called hacer. Because hacer is a Spanish verb that means to make and to do. I mean, to make something and to do something. And I don't speak enough Spanish to like give you the full implications of that in the different languages culturally in different countries. But I've always, in learning Spanish in 8th grade, I was really intrigued by that idea of like, this is a verb that make and do are the same verb. So here's an easy example. One of the first things, well, there's several things in getting things done that really grabbed me early on. I really think the first third of that book is the most important. Others would disagree, but that's okay. The first third of that book is where you get your mind right about why you're such a fucking mess. Before you jump straight to the tips and tricks, let's figure out why you're having such a fucking problem. And there's a great example that if memory serves, David Allen in Getting Things Done, copyright David Co. 2001. Example that he uses very early, I feel like, in Getting Things Done, in context of talking about what he calls the next action, which is, I think, arguably the single most powerful idea in getting things done, which it's deceptively simple. Like, so what is the next action for this thing? You say, well, what the fuck does that mean? I got a to-do list, and I rewrite my to-do list every day, and I do all these things, and I've organized my to-do list, and I've sorted my to-do list, and I've done all this stuff. And you're like, okay, well, there's all kinds of problems with that we don't have time for, but here's one. Okay, what do you got to do? What's your most important thing today? Oh my God. I got to call an electrician. So what do? You make a task called call an electrician, which seems totally cromulent. Call an electrician. But David Allen points out, okay, well, what does that mean? Aser, when you're making and doing. When you're making and doing that, what will that look like? The way he puts it, what is a physical activity, even if it's writing, drafting, like even if it's drawing, whatever that is, what does that physically look like when you do that? Let's set that aside for a second. Call an electrician. Well, I can just tell you that example I made up expressly for this purpose is a really good example. Good job, Merlin. Thanks, buddy. Hong Kong. Is that you? Okay. So what do you do physically? Well, I pick up the phone and I type in the number, and then the electrician answers. And you're like, okay, cool. So when did you write that down? 4 months ago. Okay. Why haven't you called an electrician? And the skillful person will be able to walk you through why that is. The best example, the best reason that I can give that nobody likes is you're never actually going to call an electrician. You're mad about this email in your inbox that you know in your fucking black heart you're never going to answer, and yet you still keep beating yourself up about it because that's not who you'd want to be. That's not who you'd like to be. You're so overwhelmed, you got all this stuff and da-da-da-da. So each day you keep if you're me anyway, you keep re-snoozing your email to the next day because it's all the stuff you just don't want to or can't deal with right now. Well, if you wanted to do this for 4 months, why haven't you called an electrician? Well, okay, if you're never going to do it, let's cut that off the list. But I do need to do it. Okay, why do you need to do it? Because we're having a problem with X, Y, and Z. Okay, so why didn't you call? Well, I need to call an electrician. Oh, you need to call an electrician. That's interesting. So you don't have you didn't say call Dale or whatever. No, so is it fair to say that before you call an electrician, do you first need to find an electrician? Yeah. Okay. What does it physically look like when you're finding an electrician? Well, and today you'd say maybe I'll look at Yelp, I'll Google around. Oh, you know what? I'll call Sally. Sally had dealt with an electrician. Okay, great. So
Sally's got a great deal.
Call an electrician that you should have done 4 months ago. So what does that physically look like now? Well, I call Sally. Okay, we're making progress here. So why haven't you called her yet? I've just been busy. But like, what? Okay. So physically, what does it look like? Okay, I pick up the phone. I punch. Oh my God, I don't know Sally's number. I don't know Sally's new number, or I don't know where to call. You keep walking backwards through all these things, and without getting over our skis here, what David Allen might say is, no, what you're really talking about is a project called the Electrician Project, title, or whatever. And what is the next action? What is the next physical thing that you have to do to get or keep this project in motion? The project is a noun. Whoa, that changes everything. So the noun is the electrician project. Okay, well, let's start getting into our verbs. These and they need to be physical actions. Like, believe me, if you think you don't need them to be physical actions, believe me, at least at first, you absolutely do. So come up with shit like, with the context of that computer, look up Sally's email address. And at this point, you're kind of popping the stack because you're going like, okay, well, let's get straight to what needs to be done about this. So what is the next physical action that keeps this in motion? And if you want to, you could have the action that happens after that and the action that happens after that. Now, personally, I think in most cases, if you're making a 10-item list inside of a project, that belongs in a different program. different application, different context, right? But like for an OmniFocus style approach to this, or things style approach to this, I would say like, now you have a project called the electrician. Well, what does that look like let's ask ourselves, the electrician project. First of all, we could probably get a better name for that, but what does it look like when that's done? This project will have been successful when the following thing is different from how it is now. Well, maybe it's that like my dining room lamp light works again. Okay. So, and then what's the next physical action for that? Find Sally's information. Okay. Et cetera, et cetera. So that can be one way to understand procrastination is all that shit I just bullshitted out to you. Like always begin with, are you ever going to do this? Nobody likes this, but dude, if it weren't a problem, it wouldn't be a problem. If it weren't a problem, it wouldn't be a problem, but it's a problem. And so it's a problem. Like if you keep telling yourself that if you keep being, let's put it differently, if you get emotional about this and you keep getting mad at yourself about not having done things you are unwilling to admit you will never do, then you need to either get it off your list or change the way you think about that project. But in any case, you oughtn't confuse your nouns and your verbs. And to hacer, to make and to do, I think I said this here or somewhere else recently. Where was I talking about? Might have been last week talking about, were we talking about motivation? Was that me and you? No,
yes,
I was talking to
in the after show.
Because I've been talking to Syracuse about motivation. And I think, if you understand what the motivation for something is, you have more opportunities to be skillful. And so, is it possible you've just gotten into a terrible rut and you've just gotten numb to the fact that you're fucking yelling at yourself all the time about stuff that you're not doing? Well, how do you pop that stack and say like, well, what is it I'm actually trying to accomplish here? What am I motivated to do? What has to be done? All of these things. And you start applying all those skills, but in a sane way that doesn't take you to the worst possible thing that could happen, but something much less interesting, much less scary, just much less interesting, which is like, what's the dumb shit I've got to do? So in terms of motivation, like just this is the philosophical part, I guess, is like, because another thing I said kind of carefully last week is like, or somewhere recently was like, for me to understand your motivation and how that turns into successful or cool or kind things in your world. Here's the shortest version I can give you. Show me everything you canceled last week to do the thing you're motivated about. And when I say show me your work, I don't mean show me your long division, which I guess people don't do anymore. What I mean is show me the work product. So what did you hacer? What did you make and do? Or, in another way, what did you ship? And like, if you end up not shipping the stuff, if you end up not hacering the stuff that you claim you want to hacer, there's so many different ways you could be fucking up in ways that are not deadly and dangerous forever, but will require you to have a better understanding of the disconnect between what you think you want to do in life and what life requires or wants of you, or you think life requires and wants of you. And there's endless opportunities, whether that's perfectionism or procrastination. There are endless opportunities for us to constantly measure ourselves against other people's work products and hacers. Our backstage versus everybody else's on stage in Rothfuss terms. Mm-hmm. And I just think there's almost any of those places could be a productive and interesting and revealing way to start diagnosing why you have such a disconnect between what you think you want in the world and what you're actually making and doing. That's hacer. How you doing? How you feeling?
I'm doing great.
I peanut butter too. Mainly, I just thought, I kept thinking about like, first of all, as much as I like to cover myself with glory, then I started thinking about why I do that. And my main takeaway is like, it's a chicken voice. It's a chicken problem, right? Not the chicken voice, chicken problem, where it's like, I find myself saying like, hey, like, there's I think I've talked about this before, but there's a wonderful single panel inside of a Larger Life in Hell comic. I think it's From Childhood is Hell, where Bingo or Bongo or whatever his name is, he's talking about being a child and not being disappointed in life, and it's just him, little baby, pointing at the toilet with a turd in it, or pointing at a toilet and saying to his mother, "Where did my special gift go?" Like as a little kid, and there are little kids who are like that. You know, there's little kids who are terrified of turlets. I don't know if you know about this. There's kids who are terrified of food. But there is the thought of like, oh my God, you wanted me to make a poop and I did, and now it's gone. Where's my parade? You know, and I think that where's my parade mentality is a lot of what leads into wanting to cover myself in glory. But the biggest takeaway for me was like, when I do that, who am I trying to reach? Or if you like, who am I trying to impress? Because it feels like when I do that, when I cover myself with glory, it's me basically saying, hey, you should admire me more than you do. You're a bad person, and here's why you should admire me more. And it's cringy. But I do it a lot.
I do too. I'm sweaty, as you say, but it's more. I think I want.
You're sweaty in a really manageable way, though. You're sweaty in a way that doesn't hurt me, which is good. You're very sweaty. We're both sweaty, but you don't give me homework, which I really appreciate.
I'm often sweaty in a I love you and I hope you know how much I love you and I wish that you loved me that much too. Please, do I ever do anything?
Just
or
be
make
clear, you're talking in general.
Loves.
That's not just directed at me.
Not,
is that correct?
Not just you. Like, hey.
This is where it'd be useful to have pronouns that are singular or plural.
I agree.
You just want them to love you.
As a they, them.
They don't love you like I love you.
Yes.
Yeah. My Angus, please stay.
Please stay.
My Angus, please stay. And then she cries. I said to somebody on the internet yesterday,
tears,
I think that's one of the most successful music videos of all time, Maps by Yeah Yeahs. And I think one of the reasons I find it so interesting that most people never get to is when you get to the part at the end, you know, the colors of the lights have changed and Karen is up there crying. And then they cut to this slow pan of the quote unquote audience, which at first you think is like the tech people in the room, friends and family, you're not sure. And like how you feel about that panning shot and the people in the audience may dictate how you feel about the emotional tenor of the video, especially when you know about Angus. You know who's not in that audience? Angus. But I think you could also look at that pan and go, these guys fucking rule, and everybody's just sitting there looking at them like they're a goddamn Low show. Like, why aren't they rocking out? Why don't they look more emotional about this? Anyways, I think it's a good video. And Max Martin has, I think, been on record. I think, according to friend of the show, Chris Malamphy, has basically said, you know, he wrote Since You've Been Gone because he loved Maps but thought it needed a catchier Swedish chorus. And then Ted Leo does a cover that's a medley of both songs.
Incredible cover.
Wait, they don't love you like I love you. I love Ted Leo. I don't care who knows it.
I'm glad that you don't care.
Like you don't care. You do that.
I do that. Maps is. I am surprised that you think it's one of the best videos. Not shocked.
I think it's successful. I think it's very successful as a video.
Oh, okay, yeah. I have a
I have a best music video, but I'm forgetting it right now. The tiniest moves you make. Tiny Moves is the best music video of all time.
Oh,
it helps to watch it about 60 times, but the more you watch it, the more you realize, the more you will, like me, like I do, cry at the end of that video when you really put it all together. Margaret Qualley has made a video for her, I think now husband. She made a love letter. She choreographed and co-directed a video for her husband, who's a dork, very talented dork. And the video, I think, my interpretation of that video when I watch it is she's showing what it feels like to be a young woman falling in love and having no control over those feelings. The feeling of being swept away for better or worse. And like when she's acting dorky, I think that's like what it feels like to be in love and be dorky.
And
then at the end when the sun's coming up,
week,
oh my God.
we talked about last week, and before I entered my fugue state,
your flu era.
For my flu era, I mentioned something that you interpreted as a negative thing I said about your podcast girlfriend, but I was like, no. It's just that when
you get the lightning bolt now, Alex. There's a new thing. Hey, let's just so our listeners know. There's a new thing is when Alex doesn't know that they're being negative, they get a lightning bolt.
No, but I
you do. It's not a no. It's a yes. I control the bolt.
I was not being. I don't need to. I'm gonna do the.
I don't need another person telling me to go find out why this person is problematic.
I didn't say that. I was like, well, I just respect this woman. I just really respect this woman, and because whenever I see. Whenever I
Gary Glitter, he stayed alive a long time.
Hold on. Whenever I'm like, oh my God, this is a piece of art or this is a piece of work that I really, really enjoy, I always go and look up more of what that person has done. And with Tiniest Moves, your podcast girlfriend, I did that and was like, oh my God, she's done so much cool stuff. And with Margaret Qualley, I knew she had done stuff.
Best crier in the biz.
I knew. Oh God, yeah, and I knew her from The Leftovers and stuff, and that she was a dancer. But did
you see the Kenzo perfume commercial?
Yes. Oh my God.
There's also a making of where Spike Jonze explains how they did how they did the mirrors. It's incredible.
Choreography is absolutely.
Oh my God, her eyes in that. She's a very interesting person, and I think she's a really good actor. If you just saw her as an actor, if you've seen her in Leftovers, or you've seen her in Maid, she's been in lots of other stuff. She's in a couple of those trendy lesbian movies with the Coens, but like she, I think. Oh, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, in a fairly small role, I think she really brings it.
And she's
barefoot.
Was like. Yep, she's like,
dirty feet.
He's into feet. Yep, he was.
Well, she was somehow directed to put her dirty feet on the dashboard. If memory serves.
And I loved her press tour. It was like, yep, that happened. But I went and looked like, oh my God, she directed Tiniest Moves and just devoured interview after interview.
Oh yeah, is she a good interview?
Talked about.
She seems so lively. She seems lively. But she also seems young. She seems like she's still like, I know she's like 30, but like there's still something about her in her performances. She brings my favorite episode, at least from the first season of The Leftovers, is an episode called The Garveys at Their Best. And it's a flashback episode to before,
I hate it.
Before the event. Like, it's one of those things where like, this happens on The Crown. This happens on a lot of shows I like, where you're like, man, I've just disappeared into this character and just come to take for granted how good they are in this role. And I think you reappreciate how good she is in that role when she plays the same person 3 years earlier or 2 years earlier. And she's younger. She's got braces. She and Tommy are like best friends. Like there's something just crushing about that episode, but so sweet in the way that's human. That sounds saccharine.
Me. Oh God.
Remember when they're doing the thing and they're holding hands with the electric ball and everybody's hair is going up,
and then
there's no connection anymore. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's cool. I'm glad to hear that. I hope she's cool. Now, if she's problematic, I don't want to.
No. I was just going to say, I am getting it for notes. There was an interview that she, it's one of those kind of gimmicky interviews, but ends up really like sweet and
like
cute.
Like auto search or eat hot food, that kind of thing.
No. I do like the puppy interviews with BuzzFeed, not gonna lie. But it was
Alex. Just so you all know, Alex likes the puppy interviews with BuzzFeed.
You don't know the puppy interviews, Merlin?
I'm a huge fan.
The puppy interviews.
I subscribe to those in RSS so that I don't get my I love apps.
I love the puppy interviews. Where
Adam Curtis says one of the big problems. No, it wasn't Adam Curtis. I think it was Dom and Tom were saying one big problem in 1974 in the UK is that people didn't understand the difference between content and process. They thought they could save everything with process, and process saves nothing. It's content that you auxer. You don't auxer process. You're a fucking monster.
Jack Antonoff, her husband, and who is the front man of Bleacher. He is Bleachers.
Can I take a cut of this?
Yeah,
Jack Antonoff is a very successful producer, arranger, and writer who has done some of his most famous work on Taylor Swift's Good Records, and which there are several of. But Jack Antonoff, he works with Lana Del Rey, who I'm not a huge fan of, but he does really interesting work. And then he also has a side project of his own. It's like The Long Winters. It's called Bleachers. And my introduction to them, this is a chance for me to just say briefly, I was like, holy shit. We were watching the Grammys, maybe something a couple years ago. And I think I told you this. We're watching this and I'm like, holy shit, Margaret Qualley's fucking sitting with Taylor Swift. Oh, and it was that year Taylor Swift kept like standing up and like getting photographed and like kept making it about her, which is very rare for her. But she's sitting there with Margaret Qualley. And Margaret Qualley's there with this guy who looks like a fucking Jerry Lewis character. And I said to my wife, what I said to her, I said, who's that schmohawk? And she said, that's Jack Antonoff. That's her boyfriend. Yeah. I said, that's whose boyfriend? She said, that's Jack Antonoff. That's Margaret Qualley's boyfriend. I said, I think you're confused about who I'm pointing to. Who's that schmohawk? Who's the guy that looks like Eddie Deason? Who? And then I learned about Bleachers, where he does exquisite, if you guys are my age or even in your 40s, like his 80s sounding songs are 80s sounding in a way that is extremely nuanced, where it's not just the alto sax solo. His arrangements of stuff, Bleachers are very good. Over.
Some of the people listening will know Jack Antonoff also as the frontman of, will know Schmohawk from Steel Train, which was his
cock-blasting Steel Train, huge locomotives of dick.
It was
steam come.
Oh man! And seeing him in
what are they? Were they Blue Steel? What is it? What is that?
Steel Train, which was a they were around like the Fall Out Boy scene, but not as famous. So then he was a Sorry Deborah type of guy.
Oh, Sorry Deborah.
Then,
yeah.
And you came up with that.
No, they did that. Funny. Yeah, remember they had that one song, I'm Sorry Deborah, but I can't get out of first gear. That was a really good song. They had that other song, These Bananas Are Too Heavy for My Backpack. Remember that song?
Oh, God.
You know what they do to guys like us on Paris Island?
God.
Schmohawk.
Schmohawk.
You know that reference?
No. Okay.
Send it to
you just made it. But turn it back around. Pol Pot. That's an interesting man.
Pol Pot.
Holiday in Cambodia. Jack Antonoff interviewed Margaret Qualley about directing the Tiniest Moves video. Tiny Moves.
I made it through 4 of those, and I'm sorry. I started having to do this with Roderick, and it's just a thing I need to do sometimes. Because believe it or not, I'll fucking hear about it.
Probably. Yeah. You only get the bad stuff.
Tiniest moves. It's actually tinier moves.
The same thing happens with Kathy. She only gets the bad stuff. I was reading this interview with about tiny moves and her inspiration from is it All That Jazz? Oh my God, I'm sorry. All That Jazz, right? And
Fosse movie?
Yeah, and how, like you said, it is a very much a short video and a dance about falling in love and just
did she say that?
Not having control. Yes,
I was pretty impressed because dance is the last of the great arts that I still haven't really appreciated much opera. That's in my future, but dance was something I just scorned for my entire childhood and adult life. I was like, what the fuck? Why? Same way I hated musicals for a time where I was just like, this is so gay. And then you're like, oh no, this is actually transcendent. And when you really watch it, you're like, oh, she's like not telling a story, but it's a physical poem.
Yes, that's how I have recently felt about both dance and poetry, because all of the poets I knew, I read poetry in high school, but all of the poets I knew in college and onward were total dickbags. So I was like, oh, fuck this. And now getting to appreciate poetry, I too was like, oh, that's fucking gay. As I was
Of course.
becoming the queerest person.
Yeah,
and now I'm like,
but
oh,
that's
man,
not what that means.
No, it's not. It was fucking gay. And
Fucking gay.
but and she was just talking about, yeah, it was crazy because I can't control, I can control my body, but I couldn't control how I feel about you, and I couldn't control how I feel about I couldn't control the lighting, and that final shot, we're just so tired, and it was
It's
just
a long panning
it.
shot.
Yeah.
And with the sunset, right, and them sitting on the car together, something like that.
Yeah. And I'm just, I was like, oh God, what a considerate. She seems like also not just a considerate dancer, but a choreographer. Like I didn't really realize how much choreography and directing went hand in hand until you introduced me to like deeper Bob Fosse.
Oh yeah.
works.
Also, the
And
way
then-
she disguises her cuts, I think is pretty cool. There's a couple places where you can tell there's a
yes.
cut, but it totally makes sense in the
Yeah.
context of the.
You need to watch it like 6 times. Well,
That's what, that's,
or
what I'm, that's
60.
what I'm saying. But each time I watch it, I develop more affection for it. It's kind of like, my favorite song, Not Too Soon. There's no way I'll ever get sick of that. It's weird. It doesn't even fall under that, like, oh, I can only listen to the Wrens once a year thing. It's like, I can watch Tiny Moves a lot. I'm on kind of a little bit of a break from Taskmaster, except there's a new champion of champions coming that we need to talk about.
Ooh, interesting.
And so,
there-
and you'll put that in notes.
Champion of Champions?
Sorry,
or
will you put Margaret Qualley's interview with Mohawk in notes?
Absolutely. Schmuck. No, that's this just like Maps. It's one of those music videos where it's kind of like a sense memory for me, where I didn't know for the longest time if it was just that I appreciated watching it when I was, in grade school in my I was, God, like
Right.
10.
After
and
you've like kind of
watching it.
rethought at least a handful of things you used to love in life, and you're like, I'm not as into that as I used to be, or I'm more into this than I used to be, and it kind of makes you a little bit reflective to go like, what was different about that? Maybe it was gay.
It's like
We're in so much trouble. You're a bad queer, and I'm a bad ally. Hi. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Queer and Ally, the worst pub in Brighton. Hello. Bring your bobbies and your peelers. It's the Queer and Ally, it is. By the way, that thing I said to you, I started using Allygram.
Oh, that's so good.
When people, like, it's a version of making homework for somebody, like when you're straight white male friends say like, oh my gosh, it sucks so much that that this horrible thing happened to a trans person. And you're like, oh, thanks, bud. And now go watch this video. Go log in and watch this video about it I sent you.
Yeah,
Okay,
please watch this video of a
I
child
appreciate the
being
thought.
beaten.
No, sometimes email is just a way I say I love you.
Yeah, not always.
Grip it and rip it.